Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Madison View. My name is Ralph Scott. I've been going back and trying to review basically all my all my thinking and trying to make sure that that I didn't miss something, and I'm trying to also trying to piece together a little bit better of how I think about Magna Republicans and how I came to that conclusion. And as I do this, I'm starting to see more and more people agree with me. I'm starting to see on the internet some people's got some highly educated, credentials and everything are agreeing with me. So it makes me feel a little bit more secure about how I feel. I just noticed it over the years. I mean, how ridiculous it was whenever Trump come out and said that about Magna Republicans. I may have failed to say that, but when Trump come out and said that he was shutting the country down, and and everyone should go get the vaccine, and then was it 3 months later he turned around and reversed his stance. I mean, right then and there showed me that this man was just about one thing. And of course, I thought he always was anyway. I just thought he was a T. I've always thought Donald Trump was just a spoiled rich kid. The only reason why he wears that is because his daddy had money. But my whole entire thing about this whole entire it basically started. Basically when Trump got elected, I just didn't. I could not understand why the life of me, why someone would elect someone the president. He's supposed to be this big, perfect business leader. He went broke 4 times. And the articles I've read, the reason why he had money in 2016 is because Bank of America forgave him for $681 million. I mean, if somebody would forgive me for $681 million, I would be worth $1 billion too, probably. It probably wouldn't take too much of genius, I don't think, to do that. But, that's my major credentials. And so I just started exploring a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper into it. Another guy saw this, basically saw this, and this guy's educational, has serious educational credentials compared to me. He's basically saying the same thing, that basically what it is the Republican Party has become a cult. And, and basically, he also blames it somewhat on the media like I do, but more so than anything else is what he does is he blames this whole entire thing really on the way America was founded. Okay. America was founded on a dream. Okay. So you had to believe your perception of the future, not as it was in reality, but as in how you saw it could become. You had to have faith and you had to believe, and even though all the pieces of evidence were not there that you were going to succeed, you went to America anyway because that was the land of free, the land of freedom, the land of opportunity, and you went even though you had no proof positive in your hand. You took a leap of faith, and he said that's what he thinks is doing. What it is a cross between religion and the American dream. Because people have a tendency to fantasize. And like you said, and then entertainment, accentuates this, where people nowadays can become famous and not really do anything, which is one of the things I was trying to talk about in the previous video. I don't think nobody's grounded anymore. When you see someone, just be able to do a slam dunk or whatever, or, run the 100 yards, win 7 gold medals or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I don't really consider that as valuable as someone could build a bridge. You know what I'm saying? The guy who built the bridge across San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge, in my opinion, is a lot more valuable than I forget his name, the swimmer, the basketball player. I don't care, football player. I don't care. Whichever one, the golfers. I don't care. His accomplishments were a lot more practical and made people be able to go back and forth between his communities and make goods cheaper, and people have been able to make a living. I mean, it's a great amount of money, this guy produced. And I know an athlete will say, well, I do that commercials, but yes, but when you go, that's it, it's over with. That bridge has been there forever. The guy's still giving back to his community after he did that. But And that's basically what he was trying to say too, is that because everything is now so much fluff and it's just fame, is what he said basically, which is the same thing. Which is what I think too. It's just fame. There's no really true accomplishment in there that's founded on fundamental, basic survival behavior. Like I said, the road is travel. You go get your food, you get your paycheck, you take the kid to the hospital, whatever. And then when you go down the road, it's a useful public instrument. It's not fame. It's used in survival. And and he said that was basically what he thought that this whole entire thing with the MAGA Republicans was. It's a combination of the American dream. You have to have faith, and you got to believe in things that aren't there. So, and then you combine that with religious faith, and you put your faith in that leader. And then Donald Trump's trying to sell the American dream, which is the American dream's never left. It just depends upon how hard you work, and which was something that really baffles me. He said he wants to make America great. I mean, this is the prominent argument that I have against this whole entire "Make America Great Again." Right now, the working man wages, the blue collar man wages, are stagnant to negative, and they have been so since we've entered into the free trade agreement, which the Republicans done under Clinton. Newt Gingrich and all them had the House and the Senate, and they passed the free trade agreements, and that's what has hurt the blue collar salaries in this country. So the Republican Party is the one that has destroyed the people's wealth that are voting for them, which is something I can't understand. I can't fathom that. And Trump's blaming it on everyone else when it was the Republican Party that did it. But of course, he blames the Republican Party. Oh, there's rhinos in it. He blames everybody but him, which is very obvious. He's narcissistic and egotistical and arrogant. And just go ahead and name whatever adjectives that you can describe foul over. And also I looked into another one. He basically agreed with me too about the cult. And he said that there's some preacher around Trump right now that said that he had a dream and said that Trump was sitting on the right hand of God, and that's Jesus' seat. Like he said, this guy's trying to play him off as like Jesus. It's just like a cult. That's what cults do. They make a man God instead of God. They smooth over everything. But like he said, which is what I believe, this all started through the gospel of prosperity. Because they think Trump's rich. And like I said, the only reason why he's rich is because his daddy had money. And because he's rich, so he's blessed by God. I don't know. I just what do you think about Mahatma Gandhi? What about Mandela? Just name a couple other people that weren't rich and they've done accomplished quite great things. I mean, they set quite a few wrongs right. And that's the two I can think of right off the top of my head. Mandela's the biggest one that I can think of in this century. Just basically ended the last little bit of Jim Crow laws there ever was. It was called apartheid in South Africa. But, to me, that's just, I don't quite fathom that. And then he said, also in that article, he said, what's really the noticeable difference is he said it's basically white evangelical Christians that's elected Donald Trump, and he ran the statistics. 81% of all white evangelical Christians voted in Trump. And he said that when you go look at the other branch of the evangelical Christians and you go to the darker skin color or black or brown, whatever you want to say, other skin color, other than Caucasian, 61% of them voted for Hillary Clinton. So basically, you can see the divide there. And that's basically where it comes back to where I was telling you about before. This all comes back to where our economy has made such a dynamic shift under the free trade agreement. And when Reagan, which working people voted in, for the life of me, I still don't understand that either, busted the unions. And ever since the unions have been busted, and ever since the free trade agreement has been in effect, blue collar people's wages have went down, if not, have went down overall. They have suffered the most in this economy. And you had quite a few people making fun of guys who didn't transform, didn't go to school and try to become, a manager, an engineer, or whatever. Quite a few people make fun of people for that. Well, then you need to go to school. And sometimes it's a little bit easier said than done. You got a kid, kid that's sick, a wife that's sick. You have to do it all yourself, basically. I mean, there's all kinds of family responsibilities people just don't think about. And you got some people who just couldn't go to school even if they wanted to. Just whatever reasons. I mean, there's multiple reasons I could think of reason why a person can go to school. Mentally ill, homeless, and just a couple other things. And then I saw another video from the one guy I told you I respect. He was trying to get to what he would call the cornerstone of truth. He was trying to get a guy to explain to him how he knew for sure, the things that he knew, because he feels the same way I do, that Donald Trump's, basically the insurgency. Like I told you in the previous video, he's guilty. They say that he was just following the advice of his lawyer. That's a scapegoat excuse. I've ever heard one. That's like the first grader sitting in class and he farts and he blames on the guy beside him. It's like, he did, I didn't. We're very, very childish and very immature, and I hope any jury can see through that. It's so obvious, man. That it just baffles me. But anyway, he was saying that he agreed with everybody that yes, you see media corporations, fabricate the truth and all that stuff, and it's true. But the biggest ones who did it were the ones that the Republicans believed, the Magna Republicans believed. I mean, Fox News. This is how I anchor 90% of my stuff right now. It always comes back to the one thing when I start to have any doubts. Why would a billion-dollar corporation, it's across the whole entire world, I'm talking about money that, that they could have hired, a billion-dollar lawyer to represent him in the election suit. Why did they settle out of court? It's because they knew that the election was lost and they were lying to you. And it just baffles me how people still believe it to this day that Trump is the rightful president. He is not. Trump got voted out of office. There was no voter fraud. And like I mentioned in a previous video, if there was voter fraud, it would probably have to be over 10% of the votes, which would be about roughly 10 million votes, roughly. It would have been solved very quick by the election workers. And the last thing I'd like to leave you with is y'all need to trust the election workers doing their job. Good night.